No, Jen. That's us. Is she there? Oh, she might have. I wonder where she is. Maybe on the yeah.
Where in the world? Yeah, if this is part of Where in the World, she should go to this.
She's
location.
the only one, so it's okay, right? It's
oh,
not like
well, then we can go. Yeah, anywhere she wants to go.
I'm just going to tell her.
016-288. Oh, here's the other thing. Also here, do you know this trick? So we'll go over here to contacts from your, and then we go down to where Jan
she's in mine.
Okay, well, just say here, I'm sending her an invite. And invite to meeting.
You are right, and we switched it on you. So come to us. Oh, it's not Jan Berg, it's Jen Starr.
Well,
Jennifer Starr.
Then Jan is coming too.
Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be great.
We'll see if she shows up. Yeah, because it's pretty funny. Here she comes. Let's see. Did she? She was in your room, so maybe it won't fit. Let's see who shows up. It says we have 3 participants. All right. Attendees. Jan Berg is allowed to talk. And Jennifer, because this is promote to panelists. This is a webinar, remember? Promote to panelists.
Oh, Jan, we're sorry we bothered you. And you are so great to come. You are such a good sport.
You are compliant, Jan Berg.
Yes, we met Jennifer Starr, and we bothered you. Sorry.
Oops, here we go. Did I unmute? Let's see. Disable to promote to panelists. Yes, Jen Starr should be panelist, allowed to talk. Here you go. Everything going now.
Hi, I can.
There we go.
Hold, please. We're going to be a panelist here in a minute.
I keep trying to promote to panelists. There we go. Why is this not? You know this better than I do.
Oh, no.
Jen Starr. Here we go. I'm getting it all the time. There we are. Okay.
Well, I just was following the instructions on the calendar event.
Well, no, but thank you for texting. Janet and Steve just got here. So it's I haven't read the forecast, but I have this feeling it's already cooking. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, and everyone's just honestly finishing up lunch. And you know that. Yeah, would you like a bite?
Just had mine, thanks. Hey, you guys.
We just did our pro bono coaching initiative kickoff. We had like 30 coaches here.
Oh,
super
wonderful. Wonderful. Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
If I should need to reach it for any reason, what's the signal, or how do I? Because I'm just going to be in the background for a while.
Text me.
Okay. Okay.
You are a good texter.
Okay.
To me, it's more safe to say how And sometime in this month, I would love to just have a conversation and get your encouragement on a coaching issue. Yeah.
You bet.
Okay. I'll shoot you some dates.
Great.
So we're going to next. I think I will, because I
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth Kingsley, which is who hosted the Coaching Demonstrations, moved there. For a year. And is absolutely lovely. And I was a long time friend.
That's how long it
I'll try to remember.
Yeah, well, no, we're not. Now we can throw it in.
Yeah, I know. So I said,
Yes, and that's what she So if it's like someone else who clients, I never use 11 years, 35 students from always every three years. So see, it's So I want to tell you that because you were my first last year. I'll be happy. I will give you a PR. I will be your marketing person. Yes, that's right. Which both you and because you are very yes, that's right. All that shit is yeah. PCC parents like, are you saying that? But I have to get everybody
Fantastic. That's a shift.
Yeah.
That was a I shared that with everybody said, because we had a bunch of new customers. I said, I thought it was first time for someone. I finally did it. And then finally, you know, you're not to do it. It's so good. And I don't enjoy it. I was telling the group last night, and I thought it was something. We had to do it from full to the beginning, so I could know how many people were there at the very beginning. But 40% of them were more than 5 years. She was surprising. There's like we were talking about and 6%. So that's actually external practitioners. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it's certainly not the trend. That's what I that devastating. Yes. You? The last 2 times I've been in a hotel delivering something for a what are you doing? Yeah. You are on fire. Fortunately, one of the people comes to me, I'm like, I'm driving, chatting, especially now where you are. Oh, yeah. I had that first day about the size. If I could smell smoke, I would kind of been out. Well, it was like this was ground floor, wasn't that? You don't think that's going to happen. Usually run one.
All right, we were ready. Jennifer's up and running and probably going. I got to teach at 3:30. Let's get rolling. Right. Oh, the introductions, yes. You know what it is? You can tell we're just kind of like this. Karen has moved things from one room to the other. We've been like door pile. Here, you can use there. No, they didn't. Anyway, we got through that.
This one's screen.
That is Jennifer Starr.
Oh my God.
Don't say it. Or, can you see Carmen? Yep, Carmen is a graduate, and Jennifer is one of our course leaders. Jennifer Starr is in Bend. And she,
Hi, everybody.
yes, MCC coach and one of our course leaders. And did you know that you probably haven't been on our website in a while, but ICF Oregon is coming to Bend August 14th. Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
Second Tuesday of every month.
Get your calendar out.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, knowing you're in Greece, or Thailand, or somewhere, right?
I love Central Oregon in the summer.
Yes. Oh, I know. That's true. Who would want to leave? Everyone comes there. So you all know me, Sarah Graves, with ICF and inviteCHANGE. So ICF. Thus the confusion by the catering department. I told her next year, this happened to us last year at Hotel Deluxe too. So I said to Kayla, the manager here, I said, next year, I'm going to call us Change, or actually, I said, I'm just going to make a whole different name so we don't have confusion. She goes, promise? So, in any case, I will introduce my cohorts here, my comrades, colleagues, Steve Thorson, past president of ICF, and our COO, course leader, coach, football watcher, Clarity on your person who's a Clarity.
Circus master.
Yes.
He's part of the ops team.
Oh, the ops team, yes. The wizard of the ops team. And then Janet Harvey.
That's what.
Janet Harvey is our CEO, founder, and former global ICF president. She has a book coming out this fall called This Shift
Works.
Yes.
This shift works.
Yes. And we have a whole week of events. I have booked her. I don't even know why she's smiling at me. I would give me the finger personally. Oh yeah, she loves it. Because we have been in South Florida, which I shared with you this morning. We have been, let's see, Austin, Texas, Portugal. We're here to this. New York City, I forgot New York City. And then tomorrow we've got our alumni breakfast, and then Brazil. And then Saturday morning we're doing Saudi Arabia. And by the way, I just got the. Yes, I said London. Okay, and I just got back from ICF, so we did get some 5 resource 0.5 CCEU for Brazil. So, Judy, right? You do what you can. And I so respect what you've done because you're made the most beautiful process document on our Google Drive for the board, and I use that. Now today, you will have 4. I don't think we have to do words because we know who's registered as 5 people. Right? Or do we have to use words? Do we use words? You know,
if you have registration, you're fine.
Okay. We have you on the registration.
One of the best practices that I've seen in several chapters is they require you to satisfaction survey.
Yes.
And once you've completed that, then the response back to you is the CCE.
All right, so we can do that. Yeah, we can do that. All right, I think that's it. It's roll for sleeves and.
Hi, sweetie.
Hi. You know, I'm having a hard time hearing you two.
Well, why? That's crazy. Let me turn this puppy up.
It's almost like it just gets muffled or something.
Yeah, let's see. It's not connected to the jobber, that's why. There we go. There's part 1. There's part 2. How is that, my dear?
You're sounding good.
So does she, right?
Am I too loud?
Yeah, but
So what are we?
I'm rolling up my sleeves.
Yeah, I saw that. That made me nervous. Uh-oh.
I can't be literal. So what's today? Today is a tour through core competencies. That's 3 demonstrations from people that are at that fully level. So, graduate of ICF. Will lead us off, and then you get to experience coaching. So we'll finish up with Jan at the MCC level. So as we're going through that, on the table you have the competencies. Be noticing what you notice during the session. Oh, there's that one, there's that one, and I'm kind of curious about that route that got taken. So, when we're done with it, we can do a debrief in pairs, and then collectively, and what might you integrate into your. So that come towards the end, it'll be now having seen this and having experienced the what will I choose to integrate in my goal? An outline of the day.
Can I add a thing?
You bet.
So, in the tagline for the ICF, it talks about the art, science, and practice of coaching. And what I love about Fishbowl is that we get to touch on all 3 of those. That while we're going to be watching a practice, it's an opportunity for all of you to connect to the paper on your table, connect to the training that you've had, start to see the science behind watching a practice. And then we'll have Ms. Jennifer, who's a mentor coach. Is your kitty like walking on your keyboard?
No, can you hear something? Oh dear. Oh, it's a piece of paper. Sorry.
Providing some mentor coaching. And the mentor coaching is really examining yes and. So there was a demonstration here of artful listening. And there were some other choices that were available. If you would be more artful in the use of that competency, you might have gone in this direction. So what I'd invite you to remember is there is no right or wrong in coaching. There's just another choice. That's it. And it's about, the artfulness is about learning to open up the lens of perceiving to see what those options are. And whether you went left or right, it doesn't matter. It's about, can you develop an inner coach that can be aware, oh, I have more than one choice there. And I think the thing that I always see in mentoring is that coaches are in a hurry to speak once the client does. Remember your own experience as a client. When your coach asks you a really impactful question and you're going deep inside, you have no idea what's going on over there with your coach. That's a good thing, right? As a client, you want to be taken into that introspective journey. So coaches, leave them there. You have plenty of time to sit and be in the experience with your client and allow the questions to bubble up that you feel really brings the most level of evocativeness you can. That's the artful side of the coaching process. All right, useful? Okay. I set you up, Missy, for artful mentor coaching. What do you think? Oh, you're on mute.
She said it was quite artful.
Yeah, I like the artful part. No, I hear you. And so keep your ears open to Janet, just because it does cut in and out, so I do miss a few things.
Okay. Yeah, internet and hotels. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, this room is set up really crummy. How do you guys feel about moving the tables back and putting yourselves in a U of the chair so that you can see a little better? Tables are kind of in the way. Okay, whose bright idea was oatmeal with chocolate chips?
So as you're arranging your chairs there, be thinking about, I'd like to volunteer to be quiet. And we will need 3 clients throughout the day. And so, who would like to be client first? Coach first. Here we go.
So I told Janet, I was driving in today thinking, 1 year ago I volunteered to do this as the coach with Janet, our client, excuse me, she was my coach. And I said, I thought about this, it's been a year, I can't believe it. And that for me it was a little awkward because I got a little emotional, which I don't like to do in front of people. But my business has gone way up since like last June, I guess. And I thought, isn't that cool? And she said, would you mind, would it be okay to share? I said, yes, because I just thought it's been 1 year since I was down here being coached. And wow, it's been a crazy busy time. And I'm so thankful for that and very blessed. So that whole shifting and intentionality, I go for it, guys. You're getting free coaching, like we said earlier today. So go for it. I'm not there.
I'll take it. You can do it, girl. Come on. Okay, Jen, are you able to hear Karen as well? So say something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay, Jen?
I can, Karen.
Okay, great. I'm Karen.
Yeah.
This is Janet.
Today, anyway.
At the moment. And how would you like to get started so that you're present and not so aware of the fishbowl, but just here? Okay, you're the one that introduced the lifting up the curtain.
Yeah.
Oh, bringing it down.
Yeah, bring it down. Right?
Bring the curtain down. There we go. All right. Yeah.
What do you need in order to shift out of coaching your boss? I know, I can hear that in your head. Oh, this isn't being recorded, is it? There you go.
No, I got to practice with Jennifer once before we did a fishbowl.
Fabulous. That's good.
Yeah. And what are you focusing on right now? Would you like us to talk about?
I'm sort of, I'm tumbling 2 different but related topics to see if I can figure out what the intersection is. So, I did this radio program yesterday, and I had this epiphany while I was listening to the person who was the host of the show, talking all about our organization, and I thought he went on for a really long time. It's kind of strange because he's supposed to be interviewing me. But it was really fun to hear him articulate who we are and what we're up to in the world. And I realized that we've never done that kind of media before. We've been very grassroots oriented and kind of get the word out by somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. So this was kind of this was a big deal to be on a New York radio station. And it was easy. So I'm wondering about, why didn't I do it before? Like, why now? Why is this kind of all stimulated? And on an informational level, I realize it's because I'm working on the book, and so I've been really diligent about trying to figure out what that promotional plan is. I think there's a deeper thing going on here that I haven't spent any time reflecting on, so I thought we might explore that.
All right. And what does that exploration feel like?
Not my first modality. So mostly feels curious. That I'm even just pausing long enough to grab it. So I noticed it yesterday, but it was a whirlwind day, and I haven't had any reflection time on it at all. So it may simply be a function of probing me to kind of see what are the pieces and parts of it.
All right, and you're speaking to grab onto it. What's
the insight that I had yesterday? It's like, wow, this is kind of a big deal, and we haven't done it before, and it went really well, and why didn't we do it before? And so I think there's something for me to integrate from it. I just don't know exactly what, because I haven't spent any time on it.
Right, and what's the significance of knowing the why?
So I can repeat it well. Because not everything we're doing is working. That one just happened to work really well. Like, well, don't work as well, and that's not as much fun. And trying to find that intersection of effective and fun, and that's our values alignment, is to be synergistic and transformation and bliss.
So what would give, what kind of a sensation of accomplishing what you're looking for at this time?
I think it'll just be easy, right? I'll just go, oh, that's it.
All right. So we're looking for the, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
The light bulb and, all right. And is that something that you will be able to self-identify?
Well, if you happen to see it, let me know. If I miss it, yeah, we'll do that together.
All right, great. Okay. All right.
Pretty sure I'll self-identify, but just in case.
Just in case.
If I happen to just skate right over it, that would be really good.
Wait a minute, come back here. So you'd like me to help? All right, very good. I think I can do that. And so when you think of being at that place of aha, where do you think, right now you're in that place of exploration. What does that land look like, that exploration? Where do we get started?
I got a text from my husband after the show was over, and he said, darn, you were channeling again. And Sarah says that to me a lot too. I've been trying to figure out, while that's true that there's an open channel for all of us to kind of a natural flow of information, I think it always requires partnering with the ordinary human being as well. And what I was thinking about as I was sitting down in the chair is that I wonder what point it was that he was referring to. And like at what point in the discussion with the interviewer, and I noticed he was having the interviewer was having a little bit of difficulty figuring out what to ask me next. Okay. He had so much congruence and alignment with what I was talking about, and we were off script after the second question. And maybe that's one of the criteria, that it's such a natural flow, and that's not totally fair, because I do have an easy time talking about 25 years doing the same thing. Passion is what emerges. So now I've gotten myself totally lost. What was I starting with?
You're talking about the sensation of channeling, or the observation of channeling, and you're looking for the congruence.
The intersection with the ordinary.
Yeah.
So so what's bubbling up for me is that when I made the decision to shift what I was writing in the book to simplify down to the core principle of full, resourceful, capable, and creative, what I realize is that people do resonate with those words, only when I'm actually embodying those words. Like there's a necessary congruence to the presence of the person who is espousing that as the principle. If the person isn't actually embodying it, it doesn't land as anything other than a set of words. And I could absolutely experience that when I was with this guy. So he's on the telephone, right? We're not seeing each other. And he very naturally came up with 2 of his own examples, right? On the spot, spontaneously, where it was clear to me he had fully integrated the idea, and it made it possible for us to then build on that idea. So coaching no longer became a difficult thing to describe because he understood the shift that's happening for a person when they're in the company of another who is 100% on their behalf. So, you know, the dilemma that new coaches always have about, people don't know what coaching is, and I tell them what coaching is, and they glaze over instead of be coach. So maybe that's another piece of this, is that because I'm being that, I'm being coach all the time, it's inducting.
And you were looking for the comparison of, and then there's the times that it's not happening. So when do you bring in that curiosity or that?
Yeah, like I hate writing marketing copy. Ugh. And I keep being put in the position of, will you look at this and tell me if it works? My sweet spot. I think what happens is that I end up in my head, and I try to analyze and be too scientific about getting it just right, and it shuts off the channel to something that's more pure, more, I don't know, essence congruent maybe.
Yeah, so that sounds like that's going back to that point in time of the shift with your book.
Yeah.
Is that a good parallel?
Well, mostly what the literary agent said was, people better than you are already writing that book. It was about bringing joy into the workplace. He said, find your original message, which was, like I said, when I came back, I did my own little dark side workshop for 4 days. But the good news is that on the other side, I just kept asking the question, what's the thing I talk about all the time? And maybe that's the piece that is important for us to be more explicit about. And you know, I think that's a good point you're making. That there's a lot of ease that's come from that. I don't have to think about it. All right. Even last night I did a 2-hour workshop without, I mean, there wasn't. Sorry, Laura, when you listen to the recording. But the truth is, it's so in my bones that there isn't, I don't write speeches. I don't much even write talking points. I put some images together. I put some bullet points on a slide, but that's mostly just to keep people's attention. That's not my come from. And the same was true yesterday in the interview.
All right.
So there's something about that naturalness of it.
Right. So then if you were to, how would you overlay that with your experience of marketing copy?
I'd rather just not ever do marketing copy. That would be totally fine by me.
I can respect
but
that.
I realize that that's not ever going to be a possibility.
Right.
So.
Good. I'm glad.
How would I overlay that experience? Well, 2 things come to mind. One is that if it was being done through dialogue, it might keep me out of always going to my head. So as a collaborative process where we're brainstorming and let the kind of key ideas emerge out of that, and let somebody else who's better at writing copy take the key ideas and publish it. That might be one way. Because what I'm getting is that I need to keep bringing it back down into my body. And And that gives me another insight, which
Okay.
is the last year I've been focused on really working somatically in my own coaching and really pausing any emotional or cognitive response until I've scanned to check what my kinesthetic response is to what a client has said.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the same rhythm. So yesterday in the interview, I was very sensitized to his vocabulary and his delivery. He said the funniest thing. He says, I've studied voice for a very long time, and I know you deeply believe what you're telling me and that you have great passion for this. Now, isn't that kind of a weird thing to say as an interviewer? But it was accurate. It was accurate. And so what it signaled to me is that I was aware of his ability to receive the message, but he's also responsible to make sure that it really fits for his audience. So I think I trusted, as a result of that I could let the natural flow come forward, and he'd course correct me if we were off track for what the audience needs. He sent me 3 thank yous. I know, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. I was really picking up on the, that you noticed that observation of authenticity that you're bringing, the fact that you were very present in your body, and that he was able to hear that voice. When you look at, and we're using the example of marketing material as what you consider almost the opposite. How do those 3 potentially play and shift your experience with the marketing?
Oh, it's a whole nother This Shift Works, isn't it? Well, I like Tammy, I've made the commitment that I love marketing now. It's important because I am the billboard. Each of us on the team, we're all billboards for our work. Because everybody's required to go through our coach training program. So we're all getting that awakening of consciousness. And if we keep saying that we have to get the message just right, we're actually paradoxically creating the opposite of what we're wanting to inspire. So there is an important ownership of what it is to express this work uniquely through each person, and at the same time to be an embodiment of the principles that we believe in around generative coaching. And then it stops being marketing. Right? It's really about the authentic presence. And it's easy, like it was yesterday.
Yeah. So is this a good time to check in? Where are we at with where you want to be?
We've harvested a lot of very useful insights. Mm-hmm. I think the sort of natural place I would go next is how do I take what I've learned here and learn through my experience and transfer it to the rest of the team? Okay.
So how would you take what you're learning here and transfer it to the team?
Smart aleck.
I was taught that was good coaching.
Yes, I know. Well, we do have an all-team meeting coming up. Next Wednesday?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, next Wednesday. 40. Which I might have to miss. I think I have a class to teach. So then the question is, how do I transfer it to Steve and Sarah so that can be a dialogue? And it'd be kind of an interesting place to engage the team in some practice. What is each person's way of speaking about the work we do in the world? And to practice relaxing into that being whatever the natural rhythm is for each person. Not making it up, not trying to memorize or in some way mimic something that's on the website, but to find their own vocabulary for it and to celebrate it that way.
I'm just picking up, for me, I'm longing for you if you're comfortable, if this seems like the right step for you, to pause and check in with yourself physically. How does it feel, and right now, and how does the potential feel for you?
It feels very grounded, which is good because I hadn't anchored any of yesterday's experience, so that's extremely useful. I'm aware that I've given you an answer to your question, and it's an answer. It's not the only answer, and I don't think it's a single event. Might be a good place to start, but I think there's more to consider and kick around. And I'm aware as we're scaling up the company, that means every single person in the organization is scaling up their capacity to meet it. And we're in that awkward place, sort of like when a teenager grows 8 inches over 6 months and they can't walk. I can feel that awkward teenager stage. And that means that there's some more things called for than talking about it at a meeting. So there's some work for me to do to think about that more properly.
And how are you going to be able to assure that you do that for yourself?
Why, do you think I'm not trustworthy? Teasing you. My experience is when I have breakthroughs like that in my thinking, when I've taken the time to be reflective, it doesn't leave me alone. It's like,
Okay.
So I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all about being accountable to it.
Okay.
And I think the bigger piece for me is to pay attention to doing it enough, sustaining it, being consistent. And maybe the better question to answer is, what will I see in others that says we've arrived at a new pitch for people? And if I were to answer that question,
because if you don't know, I'll ask.
I know. I'm going to head you off at the path. I think what I always want, which is that there's the unsolicited. I was sharing with somebody and they totally got it and it was so easy. Right? I'm listening for application and then people are having a good experience. Yeah, that feels good.
Ooh,
you saw it. Awesome.
So do you feel arrived? Is there anything?
I do. No, that was good.
Yeah, right. I mean,
that's really
right
good.
There.
Yep.
All right. And so is there anything you want to do before we open the curtain?
I don't think so. We're good.
Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you. All right. Here we go. Okay, Miss Jen.
I can't see Karen. I'd love to see her.
I know. She needs to go there. You might need
Hi.
Can you see her?
Yep, I can. Oh, the smiles are going around. So, Karen, what are you acknowledging the most right now about your coaching today?
That I am stepping into the opportunities and apparently I'm ratcheting everything up a notch in my life. Spontaneously coaching an MCC instructor to the CEO.
Oh my goodness. So what are you claiming?
I get to claim coach.
That's
professional coach.
Yes, you do. Wow. I was really struck by both sort of that tension between knowing that, I'm in a fishbowl and I'm coaching Janet and Jennifer's listening, and that deep desire to connect with Janet and to really be with her with the curtain down. And so I really felt that connection happen. Yeah. So as far as, did you go in with an intention, Karen, of something you'd be working on?
Oh, being present and following the lead of the client.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel like you did with that?
I think I did pretty good. When I put on my, and looking at myself and counter competencies, I frequently question if I check in with the client sufficiently. For direction.
I heard you check in towards the end. It was a really nice check-in where you utilized your active listening and you went back. You circled back to what was important to her about her somatic connection. And that was really, how might you have done it any place else?
I'm not thinking of any particular place right now. I just suspect they're probably places.
You know, the thing that had me curious at the beginning, she said there's kind of two things and they're related. And I was really curious what that second thing was. And somewhere along the line, I bet I would have just checked in with it. And it could have been the book. I'm not sure, Janet, but it felt like you followed her, Karen. She went off and running with the radio show and you were with her and you stayed with her. And what is it that you, how would you like to go about this? What is it you would like from me?
Oh, me? You?
Yes. You got me here. What would serve you best?
Let's see. Well, we're focusing on the core competencies.
Yep.
So I guess kind of the top and the weakest.
You know,
stretch.
Places of stretch. You know, you were really thorough in your agreement, and you kept your presence while you were doing that. You checked in. What I really loved was the question, what's the significance of knowing the why? Because she said that a couple of times. So you kind of really got to the heart of it. And you also got her measure of success. And so it was really thorough. And then the partnership was really great. You asked her how she wanted to explore this. You really put it in her hands. So you did that explicitly, and that was exciting for me to hear. And then you also helped her stay on track when she started getting excited about what she was sharing, and she lost track. You were right there. So the active listening was really, really strong also. I could feel you intuiting what was going on within her. And I guess there's a curiosity I have. Was there something you were picking up on that if you would have been braver, you might have asked her?
I'm not thinking of it right now.
A gut feeling or anything like that?
Well, I mean, I knew that. Well, I don't know that it was necessarily asked. I think my inclination as coach tends to be slowing it down and getting to that place. It maintained a certain amount of head level, and not very much time of really settling down and really exploring the unspoken.
Yeah, I had a gut instinct that getting down in her body, maybe even sooner, she was on a roll. She was really on a roll, and it was flowing. Again, it's almost felt like, Janet, you were starting to channel. And there was a feeling for me of what would it be like to just get smack in your gut, you know, to really get down in the body, and find out early on, what is it here that matters the most? And yet you, just by giving her the space and tracking with her so closely, she was able to coach herself, talk herself through this to a place of some real energy and excitement. And there was one place, let's see, competency, creating awareness by anchoring. There was a place, I don't remember exactly what she said. It was about taking what I've learned here and ... And I wanted to blurt out, what did you learn here? And to really hear her articulate what stood out to her about fresh learning or awareness. And, but you turned the question back on her. And so, you know, it had her going down that path. But I think there's something about anchoring that might've been useful for her as to, and only she can tell us that, to really feel it in her bones. Yeah.
That's spot on. We were a little too quick to go to the action.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Quite integrated yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to challenge her. So, you know, it was like she was thinking about, okay, we're going to go take this to the meeting. There was an impulse to want to get a little more specific. Well, what do you think that would look like? And, you know, what's that work actually look like when she said there's work to do here? It's like what? And delve into the specifics a little bit to see what was occurring to her, what was coming to her mind, to just make sure it didn't get stepped over. And yet, you know, you pulled it around and you landed the plane with a soft landing. Not just a soft landing, she was exuberant about getting off the plane and getting on with it, right? So, anything else, Janet, that you would like to chime in around that you noticed that absolutely worked and something that you might have wanted more of?
So definitely your coaching presence and your ability to, with your active listening, to track with me. That's not easy for my coach over the years, because as you see, I'm kind of fast. And I appreciated your humor and lightness, like you were okay with you, and that's an artful skill to be in coaching presence with the energy of your client. I think the piece, and I don't know how to articulate this really well. Let me think about this for a sec. At some point, you pulled back into your head to, I should do something here to move this along. And I don't know what it was I said that had that happen, but I felt the disconnection. And it was when you asked a question about action or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. And I was like, yeah, right, coaching question. right. So at that moment, I'm like, I don't know, I wasn't done yet.
Oh, I bet you it was the accountability question, right? And you bounced back saying, don't you trust I can do this?
Well, that was the second time.
Okay.
Time was what you picked up on not having me anchor the insight, inviting me to name what I was aware of. So it was just a little quick going to competency 9. No, I was fine with the accountability question, although, just more artfully, you might have said, what's the way you be true to the commitment you're making here? Yeah. And really, give the client the opportunity to articulate what accountability means. And I think, this is for all coaches. And unfortunately, PCC markers have really screwed this up, in my humble opinion, because they've collapsed 9, 10, and 11, and they are very different. Very different. Each very important. And 11 of all of them is tying up the gift with a bow. But you don't tie it up. The client does, right? And staying with the particularity of that. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not easy to coach, so good for you.
Yeah, here, Karen. That was a great, yeah.
Cool beans. Yay! Are we going to do reflections here or wait till the end? Do it fresh? Great.
Well, one thing I appreciated was that one of your first questions you said was, what does it feel like? And she said, that's not my usual modality. And so the next kind of question you moved to, what does look like? So that kind of encompasses both head and heart. So I thought that was really helpful. You only asked one yes or no question, so woohoo for that. And yeah, I just thought you stayed with her really well. And like Jennifer, I don't know when I'm going to find out the other thing, but I was thinking too. Now, did we get to the two? Did I miss something? But I really appreciated, and I thought one of the nice insights that you held for her was the cognitive versus the kinesthetic. You kind of by bringing them both there and kept. And at first I was thinking, would I keep bringing the marketing copy up? But it actually worked as such a good backdrop for what was easy and what was challenging, or not even something that she wants to do. It was challenging, not something that I have. So that was good. So in my mind, I like to learn from other coaches and see where they go and think, how would you find it?
I actually noticed when you were saying, Jennifer, at the end, but especially now that you said that was an intentional focus, I wrote it down because you said, where are you at versus where you want to be right now? And I have never used that question, and I really liked it. I don't know how it felt as a client, but did it feel okay?
It was absolutely critical for me to get present in the session.
That's what I thought.
Where am I right now, and where do I want to be?
Yeah, I liked how you said that, and I wrote, good question. Because I really like that. And again, it takes all pressure off of this as coaching. Is this good or not? And if she goes, no, this is where I want, she'll tell you where to go. You know, it just helps you relax to go, what a great question, let them drive it. And it was what you're trying to do, which was touch base, you know, get back into that. And also, it brought in that, the whole physical piece of it again for you, because you said that's important. So I thought that was beautifully done. Really good job.
Any questions or comments?
Your willingness to coach your boss. And I was laughing at it about it at first, and then I really started thinking about what, how much more is in that than a standard coaching relationship. And bravo, well done. And then being in a fishbowl on top of it.
Yeah.
That's like the Olympic.
We always say once you've coached in a fishbowl, you can be present with anybody. Gold star on top.
And what's been coming up in my arena over the last week is the over and over the concept of full resource created that how you can be with someone, no matter who they are, in whatever role they hold, in whatever environment. Hold that mindset yourself.
All the inferences of what the relationship outside of the coaching means falls away.
Yeah, I was interested and impressed by that. So I'm new to the organization, so when you said that, she's the boss. So I think you were the one who mentioned it. And I wondered if you maybe would be shy about bringing it up. You had mentioned it, and then there was also that for both of you, I think it was wrong in the whole situation. To be coaching your boss, but also be coached by your employee or student. And I wonder if there was also a student-teacher relationship as well. Like, Jennifer had also been your trainer.
Yeah, so I've been working with inviteCHANGE year and a half ish, and well, about 16 months because I just finished the program, which is a 16-month program. And yeah.
I wonder, like, so do you feel like you didn't have to do, or do you feel like you were able to just, like, I don't know what was going on inside of you. From the outside, it looked like your coaching presence was awesome, and you did it really
Well, I think I
well.
alluded to the real virgin point in that was in Coach Mastery, and Jennifer was my instructor, and we didn't, and in Coach Mastery at inviteCHANGE, it's all a fishbowl for the whole time of the course, and that's like the client of that session had bailed, and the coach of that session had bailed, and so then nobody was stepping up to be coach, and nobody was stepping up to be client, so I stepped up to be coach, and so Jennifer took on being client. So in Fishbowl, I mean, right off the bat, I was coaching my instructor, and so then in that way, it's like, well, it's not that big of a leap then to do the same.
Yeah, I was very fortunate that day.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, and you have it in your bones now that none of that stuff matters.
But I was curious for you too, Jen, like, did you feel like you wanted to make sure that she felt okay, and was there like a taking care, or you felt you could be really authentic in your feedback and what felt good and what didn't feel good?
That's part of our organization, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's our commitment to be equals with each other. Because I
You,
response for coach training.
you know, it's really striking about that whole thing is the coaching presence piece is so important that no matter what the roles are that we carry, no matter what's going on in the outer context, we're connecting soul to soul, heart to heart. You know, this is a real person with real issues, and we're there for them as an equal partner. I think that's the piece that allows that detachment from sort of the noise that the mind wants to make about the situation or the relationship or whatever it is. And I find when I can really go to that heart-soul level, I can let go of the rest. And when I'm having a challenge with my coaching, this happened on a radio demo I did a year or two ago, I can't remember. I knew that I hadn't made the connection in the way I wanted to, and I popped to my head, and oh man, every time I can feel the difference. So to me, that is what is key to coaching presence. Creating trust and intimacy, which creates awareness because you're really one with the person you're with.
I think what we observe here is your recognition of a deep gift you have that is slower and in the body, and the place to carry it next is further in the mastery of that, because the woman across from you needs it or is asking for it. That slowed down in the body. It's like this completely outside of the social context.
Mm-hmm.
Any kind of work you do together 30 minutes later. And I don't know what that would look like for you, or what we would see when you step fully into that. But I have a feeling you would be really that we haven't seen.
It's a coming.
Yeah, like a storm.
In a year. What is the story gonna be?
I don't think it's gonna take a year. I think it's just like turning it on. Yeah.
Cool beans.
It must have been your coaching presence that allowed you to understand, because I had trouble following some of what you were saying. I got the words, but I wasn't in there, but you seemed right there, and the next question made it obvious that you were with her and you understood what was going on. That was one of the things that really impressed me. I like keeping up. So, yeah.
That to me, that it is a piece of the active listening, in that Karen was really not only focused on Janet, but she was connected with the field that they shared. There was almost an unspoken kind of perceiving going on that was beyond the words that were coming out.
She was also totally connected to my underlying issue.
Mm-hmm.
But all the rest of it was extraneous.
Yeah.
Say, yeah. I get one of the times, I think that may have been the same time that one of the times I was just doing something was, it's like, I heard you doing the story. And I checked in with myself and asking, is the story still necessary? I think I'm still hearing the processing, but I don't need
Yeah. Cool.
But it would have, but my staying more connected, right? And that's one of the things I'm picking up here is, for as much, I can still be staying connected and not worrying about the story as well.
And what you might have done, so this is the artful stretch.
Yeah.
Pause for a second, Janet. I'm noticing you drifting the way you did a little earlier in the session. What are you aware of?
Okay.
Because if you're going into your head to analyze, it's already in the field between us.
Mm-hmm.
You've pulled away when you're in your head analyzing. It's already in the field because you picked it up.
Okay.
Which means it's in my field too, and I might not know it.
Yeah.
And what a gift that would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay. And my aha right now is that sense of the permission, simply because the client has brought it. It's fair game.
It's fair game. Totally. That's bold, direct communication.
It's a great way to phrase it.
Well, this was a trip.
a good one?
Right.
Right? That was awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, see, client responding, guys, you did good work.
You like
Summarize.
Who would like to be quiet?
I will, if I thought of something between then and now.
awesome. Yeah, because they moved the chairs back so that.
Tell me what to do, I don't care.
Where would you like the chairs?
I'm gonna put mine right here, Steve. You just do whatever you need to.
How's that? Are you hearing us, Jennifer?
Yes, you just keep using your outdoor voice, Steve.
Hello? Okay. Well, good afternoon, Carmen.
Hey.
What, if anything, would you like to be here, you and me?
Just maybe take a couple of breaths and have a bubble.
This is public coaching.
Bubbleville.
Okay. All right. Welcome. Wonderful place to be. What would you like to explore today?
I had some recent advice from someone here about marketing and sales and that kind of thing, and I don't have as many. I have hardly any clients. So it's hard to say. I don't have as many as I would like, but the truth is I'm pretty low on clients, and I want to coach. So the advice was, don't be afraid to be a little salesy in my presentations. And it really sounded right, because I don't always spend very much time on the offer of a free session and that kind of thing. So I would like to feel more confident and more remembering that I'm making an offer of something, not that I'm trying to get something.
Feel more confident and remember that you're making an offer.
Yeah, that I have something to give, because I really also feel that.
And how will we know that we've gotten to that feeling of more confidence?
I will be able to make some kind of positive statement about what I have learned or taken in or what's come out. I feel like I will be able to make a short positive statement.
A short positive statement about, okay. And I have a sense that this is important to you.
Very,
You
very.
want to coach people.
I do. I do.
So where would you like to start with this exploration of building your confidence?
Well, my first impulse is to say, why don't I do that? But that doesn't sound very nice to me. But more gently, what's going on that might be preventing me from expanding easily into that offer and making it appealing.
So a first explanation to say, why don't I? And then a second of what's blocking you, what's keeping you there. You're stuck. I kind of missed the second part.
Well, either what's in the way or what do I need to do differently, which are kind of, two ways of approaching the same thing, I think.
And where do you want to start? And what was that about?
Oh, you coaches. I would like to know what's in the way, because maybe if I know what's in the way, even if we don't get there, I can figure out what I need to do.
So what are some possible things that would be
Okay, so I spend a good deal of the presentation also interacting with the group about, I'm an enjoyment coach. And so I talk to people about what they think is fun, how they find fulfillment, these kinds of things. And then as we're wrapping up, it feels awkward to go to, I'm offering a free discovery session to anybody who would like to, and it's this long, and this is how you would sign up for it. And I usually add, and I have a coaching program that's 3 months, that if you want more support, then at the end of the discovery session, we can talk about that. It feels not very engaging. It's just kind of not.
a long way from enjoyment?
Yeah, but
An enjoyment coach.
Yeah.
awkward.
Yeah, feeling awkward. Yeah.
What's the description of that would go with enjoyment?
I don't know, I see fireworks.
What would make it be the 4th of July?
A way to talk about it that makes it irresistible.
Fireworks, irresistible.
Right.
What else would describe?
Delectable. Delicious. Compelling.
And where are those words coming from? Your motion for right here.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Head, from your heart.
Oh no, they're coming from feeling them.
Delicious, delectable, fireworks.
Party.
A party. What would turn that part of your presentation into a party?
Oh, I like this question. I don't know. I feel close, but not. Well, I mean, my attitude being different about it. Having it be something to celebrate instead of a businessy kind of thing. I mean, very different feelings.
So I'm sensing a tension between belief around its business, so it needs to be this way, this celebration party thing.
Yes, 180 degrees, right.
So where are you at in that?
I want that, and I
And
kind
you're
of
over
have
here.
that.
So what's going to move?
Oh yeah, I thought I had to get rid of that. I thought I had to get rid of the businessy part. But you're saying I could get them closer or something?
What if it wasn't get rid of? What if it was moved towards?
Yeah.
What you just described, party and celebration.
That would be good. That would be ideal.
So where are we at with movement towards that you wanted when you started?
I have a clearer picture of what has been less successful in the past. I wanted to say what was going wrong, but it was just, like much less successful. And I don't know, at least making it fun for me. And maybe if it's
fun for you. What will make it fun for you?
maybe talking here about success stories with clients, because I love sharing when people have really made big changes for themselves, where they started out here and they ended up here, and yay, and they were happy, and I was really happy too, because I want everybody to enjoy life as much as I do. So maybe that would be more interesting for my audience, and also I think that would generate more of that feeling in me, not just the success part, but these people are having a much better time now than they were, and I helped.
just said land for you?
Yeah, that feels good. That feels right. And it doesn't, um, it doesn't feel selfish. I felt like the businessy stuff felt selfish. And this feels like win-win. We both get something. I mean, I would hope the audience member gets it, but Kath, I got a card with a quote by Katharine Hepburn on my fridge, and it says, "If you always do what you want, at least one person will be satisfied." And
who should we focus on right now?
Yeah, so, and if I have a good time in the wrap up and the offer, then at least I'll come away with having a good time. And it can't be less successful than the other way. So there's nothing to lose, and I can try it. I'm a total believer in the experimental method, and I can try that and go from there. And I'm kind of excited about, I've got a talk at Mentor Graphics next week. And I'm really looking forward to that. I did a wellness, I was participating in the wellness fair for them back in October. So I have a little familiarity. It'll be a little more comfortable. And I'm going to, you haven't asked me yet, but I'm going to outline or bullet point that section of my talk and maybe share it with a couple of friends who've always been very supportive about what I'm doing, and see how it lands with them. Do a little trial run with it. Yeah.
The party section.
Party, fireworks and party. Yeah. This is great. Because I'm a total believer in coaching. I just wasn't sure that we were going to get here.
So what's your statement?
Oh, yes, my statement. I'll have fun making the offer, and so will they. Yeah.
And what's your way of remembering that?
It doesn't take much for me to remember the fun stuff.
What's your way to keep it fun?
To keep it fun? Well, it's fun for me to talk about success stories, so that's kind of a built-in. And trying it out with my friends can be fun too. And just that mental picture, the fireworks and the confetti and all of that is right up here. It's very colorful.
And how's it stay there? How does it stay there? How do you remember to recall?
Well, when I sit down again, I'm going to make some notes because I need to write things down, and I'm going to maybe I'll just put fireworks on a Post-it note or two or three around my apartment, and as reminders to bring back this feeling that I have right now.
So what are you now aware of about yourself that you weren't however many minutes ago before we started?
What am I aware of? About myself or about about myself.
What you learn here about yourself?
It's easier for me to shift than I thought it might be, and that I also need a recognition. I need that aha in order to make a shift. But then it feels pretty easy once I have, like binoculars coming into focus, that kind of thing. Once that happens and I know what I want to try, it feels easy.
What's your binoculars going forth from here?
Well, no, this was the binoculars.
You got it.
Yeah,
You got it.
yeah, we did the binoculars part.
Okay. All right. Put a bow on this baby.
Oh, yes.
Celebrate.
Bright colored ribbon.
Fireworks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Too fun, of course.
Too fun.
Oh, I just remember Carmen and her fun. Steve, how was that for you?
Super.
Super in what way?
Oh, I knew you were going to do that. I think that we got to what was important to Carmen on like 2, maybe 3 different levels throughout the circling of the balloons, if you will. And I had a sense there's more here. There's something more. I'm still hanging out in the underlying meaning and what's really important here and what's the fundamental belief, and that was my intention, was to hang out in there a whole lot. Even when she designed an action, I was still wanting to come back around to it again. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Could you like scooch over a little bit so I'm not only seeing half of your face? It's really disconcerting. There you go. Thanks. So that you got to a really fun place and you created some great awareness with her. What's that get? What competency is it that you're seeing as an opportunity here when you speak to all those inquiries you have internally?
Well, there's it's triggered by active listening, coaching presence, leads to the powerful questioning, trusting my tuition.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, I'll write you a check later. My intuition.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did I at all answer your question?
What you just said about answering intuition, something happened just then for you. What was that?
No, I was wondering if I'd actually answered the question. I think I might have not have, but.
I was just, the main thing is you've got the gist of it. So what was going on about the intuition piece for you during the session? And what do you see as your opportunity?
Notice it sooner and be more direct.
You don't sound convinced.
Really?
Yeah. Just a second ago when you hit on intuition, something went off there. And I saw that happening when you were sitting with Carmen as well earlier on. And you were right with her. I mean, you were tracking with her. You were keeping it moving. And I had an intuition early on that you were noodling on that, wonder what the belief is piece. Wonder what the story is. But I didn't hear it come out of your mouth, so I was just curious if I had read that right.
Well, I think that was the place of while we did some initial exploration of what was important to Carmen and the underlying meaning, there's something more.
Mm-hmm.
Something more. There's something more. So
yeah. I noticed you named it. I have a sense that this is really important to you. And I think I was curious about what is it that's important to her. It might be, she used the language of obstacle a lot or move the block. I was curious what that meant to her. And I was wondering if that resonated at all with what your experience was in that moment.
To have asked that next question? Yeah. Or,
where would you like to start was the next question I heard you say, so you let her lead.
yeah, and before that could have come the...
Yeah, what exactly?
What is it that's making this important?
Yeah.
Makes this important?
Yeah. I don't know. My sense of it was that your gut instinct kicked in early on. And I saw an opportunity to be really direct with it. And yet you were really, you guided her you matched her energy. There was a sensitivity there. And I really noticed how sensitive you were with her, so that you were matching kind of that level of cadence and sensitivity. So there was partnership in that piece and creating that ease. I also heard her kind of bristle up a couple times with your questions because your questions were pointing in a direction that we're starting to uncover something. Yeah. And you matched her body language. Did everybody notice that? I mean, she was really gesticulating, and then you started doing the same, and I could feel the connection warming up. Yeah. But where is it that you felt the most successful, Steve?
I think it was in the connection that we created in such a very short period of time that led to me asking the question at the end of what have you learned about yourself, which made it bigger than this session.
Yeah. Which is a great example of anchoring to create awareness, and also really testing the commitment of what's going to help you remember, what's going to keep it fun. And you were being playful with her through the whole thing. I might have tried at the end too to go, you were talking about obstacles in the beginning. What else is there to do with that concept? To just help her kind of tie the knot on that one, or open it up for contemplation or further exploration.
Where else are there obstacles that you might leverage what we just talked about?
Or how might you be looking at this differently now that we've had this time together? How are you experiencing the sense of obstacle now? Or something. There's so many different ways, but you get the gist.
What's your sense of awkwardness?
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Mr. PCC, anything else you're curious about?
No, I'm not right now.
Oh.
Probably later tonight.
Oh. Well, you definitely are efficient and have an economy with your words so that the focus stays on your client. And so that piece is really, your connection with her was great. So let's hear it from some of the others. Observations. Yeah, thank you, Steve.
One of the things that I noticed with your coaching is your deep sense of calm curiosity serves your client so beautifully, so impressive. And I loved this, this point that you were able to establish with the hand movements, with the business, and there was like this explosion. Your face is just like, that was my favorite moment of the coaching. Just beautiful mirroring and sensitivity and connection. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, yes, you are the master at that work. It was so fun to watch that. Right? That's a direct communication skill that is really strong in you. And you led her to that conclusion. So she couldn't answer what it was, and you held your hands up like this. There was a moment to wait. You said, "This was here."
Yeah.
Which was you leading. Right?
Yeah.
So, like, really cool that he caught it, Instead of saying, Harvey, what do you have in that position here?
Mm-hmm.
Enjoyment? Ooh, offer. Put your hands up. What are you experiencing? Stay with it. Like your instinct was so spot on. Like you could do it. But she took it. But a less present client to themselves, we just need to really let that bubble up. What is the belief operating? Because your instinct is so right on here. And I'm wondering, where was your direct communication to say, what are you saying to yourself, girl?
Yeah.
But I did also observe is then also just pausing a long time until kind of like checking in with Carmen. But I don't know that you did it directly. I mean, I think that, I don't know, my inclination would have been, well, if you like this, but I would do it more apologetically. Which is not where I want to come from. But I saw the kind of a nonverbal, okay, if you didn't get that, like just stay here until you either choose it or we could go somewhere else. And so I want to acknowledge that. And then she chose it. It became a great aha. It became a great gift. But I think apologizing like I would have probably wouldn't have helped. And just being there with it.
I wrote down, challenged her, didn't fall for the story. Challenged her, like, you stayed with her and you didn't fall for the story. At first, I could feel myself in the audience, just like, oh, yeah. And then you asked a question, you kind of went that 10% of not falling for the story. And then shortly after that was that whole, like, you just became alive, Carmen, your whole face, your eyes, which almost when you came up, it was like a light switch, the switch was off. And when you were in fireworks, irresistible, delectable, delicious, you were just in enjoyment. You were the enjoyment, right? And so I guess a part of me wanted to go, what else? Or, I mean, she was just on a roll of feeling, the fireworks. But I loved that you in the moment when you didn't fall for it, I thought, boy, where is this going to go? And then boom, it popped. So,
Yeah, you were detached while at the same time connected. It was a nice subtlety of staying connected with Carmen and what was important, but also being detached from the storyline And then when she popped, you popped with her. Yeah, reflecting that energy.
And I think what's interesting, what was going through my head intuitively was, wait, just what you came to, which is, I'm all about fun and enjoyment, and so most exciting. And that's what encouraged me is at the end you're kind of there again, like and I think even naming that would have been good to say, wow, here's your energy, your eyes, your feet, keep going, like Sarah's saying, because you went from to woo, and that's pretty amazing in that much time.
Yeah.
And when your whole practice is based on it, and so that's cool. And I just thought, good job getting you there, and even naming it more would be good. What's present is wow, your found it again, which is cool for the rest of us to see something to get there.
I can feel I have something and I'm hesitating to seize my buddy, but I recognize something that you did that I did. And that was after that, you said, how could you turn this into your offer? And that's something that I do, which is I problem solve for the other person. So I was trying to think, well, what would be a better question that would not be my notion of, hey, let's put this with that. Something about, wow, the light just went on in you. What's going on right now? Something like that. But I really recognize that busted surgery. Yeah.
We thought that the choice of how is distracting or not useful to the client. It's certainly not. But what I hear you calling out is, was there something more to the surface? And I think this is what Jen was saying. And you said it, Steve. Your instinct said she hasn't quite connected what's in. So the opportunity was there to say, okay, she's back in her strength. She's not getting herself up anymore. She's connected to doing it. And in that moment to say, what did you connect to just now? This is different than how you were holding this when you sat down.
So I'm realizing right now, kicked myself in the butt because I just went to how.
Yeah.
And we weren't ready. So now, so then it was, we'll circle again.
And the good news is we can do that. And we can work with clients over time.
So you asked the question, what would make it fun for you? And I heard you say, well, it felt selfish to. That was one of the things that I was curious about in terms of the limiting beliefs around this. What the next question might be around that. It seemed to drop right in there of a belief that was also in the conversation.
What would be the next question?
That's why I'm here.
When I see something like that, I
don't know what the next question would be, but I thought that there was this answer that came in this really unexpected way through the quote that was on the fridge. Well, I got in the pepper quote, and I thought there was a fantastic opportunity there because the quote was, if you always do what you want, at least one person will be satisfied. So that's like the ultimate, like, okay to be selfish because you're satisfying yourself. So maybe when that quote came up, there was a way to really excavate that model.
That is this gorgeous celebration. We got the woman from Victoria, Texas, and I helped. Burn on the refrigerator. For 4th of July fireworks, like this picnic, we've got it all right there so that selfishness is busted. Like at that moment. Yeah. I want to celebrate this moment of recovery that you had. When the moving from here to here wasn't working and you began deferring, like, I guess that's a good idea you had, Steve, but it wasn't her idea. You did this beautiful thing
thing, you didn't just ask the question, where are you now? But you leaned forward and you looked at her, and your mouth did all these sorts of things, where you're like this mischievous boy at play with her. And you were just calling her back to herself. And she came into the coaching. So whatever analytically wasn't working about how do we move from here to here, which was the cool idea, you got her back and going right there.
Yeah.
And then she brought out Captain Hepburn.
That was fabulous.
I guess so.
You have the right to say no after asking questions.
Energetically in the room, when you said delectable, something moved in there. Yes. And I was dying to find out that in you, that you are leaving behind when you stand at the front of the room at the end of your talk.
I don't know. That's one of those superior words. Like,
she's here, look at her. Superior words.
I mean, you know, there's inferior, there's okay, and then there's superior. And delectable, just, it kind of says it all. It encompasses all of the senses and all of the feelings. So that, and it's not a word that I use very often, but in the exchange, it just seemed perfect.
It brought you back into your body and the experience.
Totally. Juicy pomegranate.
The voice dialogue, that's what I was thinking when you mentioned that whole southern piece there. Yeah, that's a really cool voice act.
I might plumb that one.
Yeah.
I think there's ideas there.
Yeah.
It's shake and bake, and I helped.
Delectable at mentor graphics.
Right.
Okay.
Boom.
Yeah.
Fireworks all day
It's a
long.
deal. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And I think to use the word win-win, that was big for you, and success stories, sharing success stories. So tapping back and get up when you go to mentor, because that was there. You're like, it's not selfish. It can be a win-win. It was like this light bulb went on for you. Yeah, it doesn't have to be selfish. That's where that connected is. And you said, sharing success stories, I'm comfortable with that. I'm good at that. Good. Because I help. You know, you can go ahead and share that. So, take that with you.
One of the things came to mind when the word selfish came up, I might have asked, what does that mean to you? Because that word means a lot of different things to a lot of people. So it could have maybe about a little deeper, what's selfish mean to you? I know what it means. It may not be what you are. Because I heard that and it's like, oh man, it's not. So.
Yay.
Thank you. I totally did not anticipate doing that. So thank you all.
Like a natural break, everybody.
Left or right?
Left.
Forward and left and right. You're such an animator.
I am.
Yeah, you are. I love that. And it's almost like when you said the word fireworks, you can see it in your face. I don't know why you're imagining it. Yeah, and you're writing it really good fireworks. Like a happy and then slowly it did. Wasn't quite her thing yet, and then it slowly like we're.
But the use of, I mean, we was always on, and the ability to just like bring people's words. Just the people to say, you have.
And not an original, that's not there. And you do it with, you also sometimes have words for what it is. Right.
It's big red and alligator.
Very subtle, very
Oh,
so much.
yeah. I like being that way.
And not patronizing, just subtle.
Love it.
But in this way that
Thank you.
I'm starting to get a little pain. I have a big red nurse that was here, and I don't see it. After a client meeting, and that late, I leave it. Oh my God.
No, we go down to Slumber.
Well, you have been. I didn't expect I was not expecting it. And of course now, one of the consequences for calling people who are certified and there's also a feeling of welcome into you know, and I think that's really the inspiring out there too. So I'm like, Jan's gonna, I just start eyeing it out. I love the Fishbowl stuff. We did it. I don't know, it like a year or two. So I'm it's so much out watching everything coach. And an opportunity to coach, you know, it's been go to now, it's like now. But yeah, it's a great idea. We have to be organized by it.
I mean, his creative coach.
That's not the whole point. Well, yeah. I do want, that's a great idea. Being semi-retired. No, I know, pretty sure that she gets her.
Good. Looking forward to home on Saturday.
No, that's when you guys were talking about what?
Most of it is webinar. I was right, and then you have to tell us to Palm Beach, Florida, and then here.
I love Zoom.
That's right. Terrific. Very terrific.
One of the things people complain about technology, if you use it well, and intentionally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's right. Is there any particular reason why I'm natural?
Everybody knows you.
There's one on the table. Did you make one? Oh, I was supposed to do that. Why not? The gluey kind.
I would like you like to use mine.
I just wondered if you were saying anything about that.
Everybody knows you, Jennifer Harvey. There was one point where you were making reference to and all of us are growing our own. I just recently working on my own saving the item things that they have. And one of the things yes, I do get to use that. And now I got a double dip. How you doing, hon? Oh, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
I'm doing good. I've been tired of sitting in the same seat all day, but oh, how has your world tour been so far?
Good, really good.
So it's Brazil next.
Yeah, Brazil tomorrow.
That's a
Saudi
big.
on Saturday.
Those are big flights. Yeah. Okay.
I'm not flying anywhere. Those are Zooms.
Oh, there's Zooms. Oh my gosh. Back me up. I just assumed you were getting on a plane half the time. I thought, that's my dream, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sometime soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just went from Salt Lake to South Florida and South Florida, Portland.
Yeah, it was really fun to hear. It was fun to hear how well received the South Florida was, and how Ellen said it was great to meet both you and Sarah.
Yeah, it was super. It was really super. There was a gal there in that chapter who is from Lebanon and still lives there in the summertime. She goes back to Lebanon, and so we did another video for them, and cool. Really, really great group of people there.
Oh, great. Good, good.
Thank you for cross-promoting. Very fun.
Oh, yeah. You bet. It's it all goes together. It's been an interesting week, because I would have liked to have been fly on all those walls.
Well, they recorded South Florida, so I don't know where Barbara's going to post that, but it'll be someplace. And the radio interview in New York is on the homepage now.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Tools and resources down at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, again, I don't know where Barbara's going to put it, but last night's 2-hour on for ICF Southeast, the Austin chapter sponsored.
They had a ton of people.
Yeah, I think we had like 62 or something.
I didn't have to take care of my copies.
Yeah. Anyway, that recording is ready, so I just don't know where it's getting posted yet.
Good. Good.
Probably our YouTube channel, I would guess. I don't know.
I will catch up at some point.
And really, everybody could be doing these. So that'll be my dream for next year for ICW, is that everybody has a place that they're showing up in an ICF chapter to do something.
Yeah.
It'd be so great to show up in person.
Yeah, well, that would be even better. Yeah.
Dynamic. Yep.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Show on the road.
Circle up.
You are? Oh, I'm so happy. Come on up. Yes. To shift the energy. Switch it up. Get up, baby. And actually, thank you for saying that, because that's also, when you're doing these fishbowls, I said to Carmen, you don't always have to do it this formal. 4 or 5 coaches in the living room. Everybody gets to coach. Everybody gets to be client. Everybody gets to be a peer mentor. It's a really good practice. And the other thing is, if you guys have been watching the client, you might want to flip sides and watch the coach, or vice versa, right? To notice what shows up in your own awareness depending on which energetic you're watching. Hi. You were going inside, were you?
Yes. Maybe I could do a little more.
Before we start, tell me a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Learning style and where you are in your stage of coaching.
Yeah. So my name is Jan, and I've been transitioning. My background is in psychology, and I've been a psychotherapist and particularly a couples counselor over my 30-year career doing that. And I've also been like a trainer and a co-founder of this particular kind of psychology that I do. So I've had like a very fully involved career, and in the last 10 years, I've been transitioning to coaching. So the coaching's relatively new for me, and I love it.
Smile on your face. Oh my
God!
God!
I really love it, and I want to build it, and I want to grow it, and it's going relatively well. You know, I have all of that experience just working with people, so it's not really new for me. But the transition to the business language and to the outcome orientation and to, it's funny. I was telling, this is a lot. On. You don't need more. I think that's.
Finish your sentence.
I was going to say.
Let's not hijack you.
Thank you. I was telling somebody that one of the reasons why I wanted to transition to coaching is because I love telling people what to do. And I thought that I was going to get to be really bossy and really just like be much more directive as a coach.
And the first class of coach training, you went, uh-oh.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I do find that. I find my way of still being able to tell people what to do without really doing that. And I don't mean tell them what to do, but I mean, there is a, anyway, I won't go there. Anyway, yeah.
We'll save that for the next coaching.
Yeah, okay. So I'm really excited to be here and, yeah, to be working with you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. It's courageous to choose to be a client in the Fishbowl.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that very much. Yeah. So would you like to use our shade technique?
What's that?
Put your hand up here. We're going to put our hand on a ring, and it's attached to a shade. Okay. We're going to pull the shade down.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And then it's just doing.
Nice. Nice. Thank you.
So even before we left for the break, I could tell you were going to volunteer.
Oh, you knew? How did
There's
you know?
Some things stirring.
Yeah.
What's useful for us to explore?
Well, I have two different ways that I could go, but I think I know which way I want to go. They're connected, and I guess it's a theme that's been in the room also. So I have a book that's coming out in the fall, and I've been working on it for about 3 years. It was kind of like as I've been transitioning out of therapy to coaching, I kind of wanted to do a book about my work as a couples counselor. So I have it's a part memoir and part client-based case studies. And
vulnerable act, isn't it? Too?
It's huge.
Stress all of that.
It's huge. And
so before you keep telling me, take a breath first.
I'm excited and
nervous.
I know. I can feel like all the tension inside my body.
Like a vibrating something, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to really calm myself until we actually get into it, you know.
And I want to invite you to get into it from the inside out. The outside in story you already know. I don't need to know. What's important is that we find a place that is not known to you right now. That our exchange might reveal something new. So breathe into what's the not knowing place in you that wants to be explored.
I think it's this, this fear about coming out in the public. I know that I'm going to have to, writing a book is one thing, it's in production now, and there's the whole piece about selling the book and coming out and the marketing and the social media and the publicness. And it's a very transparent book also. It's a lot of memoir. And I'm scared. And I know that I have to take this leap into this world that is uncomfortable for me. So that's what I want to hear.
All the disempowering language about it. Have to, need to, and the vulnerability of being that transparent out in the world. And it's so something was compelling enough, you wrote the book.
Totally, absolutely. I had to write this book.
So what are we exploring here that will support you in finding a new relationship to this?
I'm not sure. Good question. I want to be excited about the next step. I want to be excited about putting myself out there. You know, I'm going to have to do interviews and podcasts. And
Pause for a second. That was 2 I wants, and then I have to. I want to be excited. I want to put myself out there. I have to do podcasts.
Right.
So what was the bridge there that you stepped over back into disempowerment?
I want to be excited. That's true.
Yeah, and you smile even when you say that.
I don't know, I feel like there's a world that tells me what I have to do in order to be successful in a certain way. And I know that there's some truth to it, but it's outside myself. Like you were saying at the beginning, it's like coming from the outside in instead of the inside out.
At some point 10 years ago, you said you had an inspiration to become a coach. And I wonder, how is that the same pattern you're in right now? An inspiration to be an author?
That's really a great question. So, sorry, I keep telling you, you know your questions are good.
Stay in you, Jan.
Let's see. It's very similar. I was kind of like, or am, and was, and have been a big fish in a small pond, and very known and very loved within a world that I've been working in for 30 years. And I really felt like I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and be outside of that and feel who I was in other contexts and other environments. So in that sense, it's very similar.
Yeah, I watch your eyes open, and you almost lift it back when you imagine yourself stepping out into the mass market.
Yeah.
My words. Would that be consistent?
Yeah, it's still hard for me with the coaching as well. I still feel experiences of insecurity that I don't feel in my other life.
And yet you're choosing it. So what's compelling to you about being in the edge of insecurity?
Yeah, I mean, growth.
There you go. Smiling again.
Yeah, growth. I love growing. It's my thing. I do, it's my thing. It's what moves me and motivates me.
It's my thing.
Yeah.
It's what moves me and motivates me.
Totally. I like that. I like life at that edge.
All right. I like life at that edge. Pick that thread up for yourself. What does that inform as you are considering being out and transparent?
I'm not sure if this is what you're asking, but there's something about that is actually part of what I teach and part of what my message is, is that, life at that edge is hard. And I'm trying to encourage other people to also be brave in their relationships in different ways, because my book's about relationships. So in some sense, it's like modeling. I'm not just transparent in my writing, but then I have to also be transparent in whatever else I do next.
What's the value you are wanting to honor? It's your personal value.
My personal value that I'm wanting to honor is the value of people believing in themselves and trusting themselves and daring to make mistakes and to try again and to just
struggle at that edge of uncertainty, and that becoming, knowing your own deepest sense of vulnerability and failure and uncertainty, and becoming a more compassionate human being, all of these things that I believe in and that I want to teach the world. See, I don't feel very good in talking about it. Even when I just said that to you, I feel, Jen, you're going to have to get better at talking about what you believe in.
You're holding a really high bar for yourself. And yet you're talking about people being comfortable with insecurity, risk, and experimentation,
right.
On the edge. So, what do you love about being in the paradox?
What do I love about it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not aware that I love it.
What are you aware of?
Right in this moment, I'm aware of just feeling in that sort of uncertain space.
With a smile on your face.
I guess.
It's like the third or fourth time I just keep watching you go to this uncertainty. There's something very, I don't know, I physically can feel you get activated every time you go to that word.
Uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. You know, most people when you hear uncertainty are pulled in.
Right.
You're out.
Right. Right. I feel like that's where we are as people, as humans, as a world. Everything's fucked up and messed up. And people don't know how to get along with each other. And are we going to survive? And is our planet going to make it? And it's like, it's a very uncertain time.
There's no issue for you about uncertainty. So what are you talking about here?
I don't know. I don't understand your question.
Yeah. What is it that is keeping you from being in action, of getting out there?
Right.
Because it's not uncertainty, babe.
I see. You mean you're perceiving me as being more confident than I identify?
In this moment.
Yeah, that's what the feedback I get. Yeah. Okay, I was going to say good question. What's that? What's that? Can you ask it again?
Sure. And before, when you took a breath, it let you really connect into your being. So feel free to keep doing that. What is it you're really wanting out of this exchange we're having here? Moving forward.
Oh, with you? What is that I really want? I want to come out of it. I feel it's already a little bit started, but I feel like I want to come out of it feeling like I can take these next steps with more confidence.
Where does confidence live in your body?
It's in my heart. Mm-hmm.
What's your way of connecting to your heart?
I'm looking at you, and I say that's a harsh way sometimes connecting with another person.
And how central is connecting with other people in your day-to-day process?
It's huge. It's what I do every day. It's what I've done my whole life. It's what I do.
What's lacking confidence then? This is what you do.
I have no confidence. I have no lack of confidence connecting with other people.
Wow, but 10 seconds ago you said you
Oh,
had no confidence to
exactly.
go out in the world and expose yourself.
Right. It's the public. It's like this amorphous public.
Oh, I see.
That I feel like I don't know.
You've got the whole world in this bucket called the public.
Yeah.
What's the truth of that?
I guess it's not true. I guess the public is a bunch of people.
That you love connecting with.
Right.
So what's underneath that? What's got you held back?
Yeah. What's kept me held back?
No, what's keeping you held back?
Mm-hmm. What's keeping me held back from what?
So you started with, I'm lacking confidence to
Mhm.
step out into the general public.
Mhm.
And yet you just said to yourself, connecting with people is what I
That's
love.
what I do, yeah.
So you haven't quite found what it is that is really the underlying issue for you. And the instant you name, I'm not confident, you talk about loving uncertainty. Would a metaphor help you?
Mm-hmm.
So what popped into my head was Athena with the scales.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
I can see this backbone you have and the wisdom of the owl and so much to share with people.
Uh-huh.
And yet, what's on the scales that you keep letting one side go here and it's like, oh wait, and then you go here.
Right.
That
Right.
helps. So it's a somatic metaphor, maybe.
It's like something that keeps me smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if it's, you know, it's kind of an inner self-doubt.
And I wonder where the self-doubt is an ally for you.
The way it's an ally for me is that it helps me understand other people and it helps me connect with the public.
It's your secret sauce. So why would we eject your secret sauce?
Which is what my book is about. Because it's my own, I'm exposing a lot of my own difficult, painful relationship journey and to make other people, you know, to help other people understand theirs. So it is my secret sauce.
So they know you have compassion.
Exactly.
You've walked in their shoes.
Exactly.
So can I just blurt a value I'm hearing and see how it lands? Integrity.
Yeah.
You're worried about having integrity that you might not be walking your talk when you publish the book?
When I have to, yeah,
when
I
you
feel
have to go out in the world.
I feel fake.
Ah, it's the imposter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's the truth in that? I mean, really, do you have a lick of chance of being an imposter out in the world?
Maybe I don't. Maybe I don't. Yeah, maybe I don't.
That's been my experience of you in
Right.
this short little time. I can't imagine you being an imposter.
But even when I come into a room like this where I don't know anybody, I feel like this like little mouse. But I know that's not how I come across. Yeah. Right. There's no chance of being an imposter. Thank you. There's no way I can do it.
And yet you said something right here about coming into a room of strangers and feeling like a little mouse. You don't stay there very long, right? But the self-image is quite different from who you know yourself to be.
Right.
So what's lingering and maybe old about the mouse in you?
I mean, there's lots of story there.
So bring the story current to today.
Okay. What's lingering? Please ask me again.
What's lingering about the mouse identity you have? And if you brought it current to today, you could see maybe not.
I mean, I don't feel like a mouse right now. Yeah, so nothing.
Yeah, you said it's when you first come in the room.
Yeah, in the moment. And I think you're, you know, as you help me and connect with me and support me to be myself and embrace myself, once I do that, I don't feel that. I don't feel anything is lingering in the moment.
So that being an encouraging connection supports you.
Yeah.
And how does the mouse serve you? Again,
it's like the way that I understand the difficult spots in other people. I'm human. It just serves me by reminding me of life, of what's real in life, is that there's a lot of suffering, you know, in the world.
We've had that great privilege together to explore lots of parts of you.
Yeah.
Right? I've heard you're psychotherapist, I've heard you're a writer, I've heard you're a speaker, you're a passionate being, the one who solves suffering. Who haven't we're still exploring what our session agreement would look like.
Right.
Right?
Oh, we
Right?
are.
We're still uncovering what it is that's at the heart of what you do not know.
Well, I feel like the heart of what I do not know is that I am already what I think I'm trying to be, or I need to be. I feel like that's the message I got really strongly, and I think it's very profound. It's hard for me, I'm not 100% solidly centered in believing it, but I feel that's the message.
How do you breathe in and make it solid?
Say that again?
How do you breathe into that and make it solid?
I guess just taking a minute.
What do you know is your way to your solid confidence,
Right.
your integrity?
Right. Just taking time to go inside and really ground it, feel it.
A lot of wisdom.
Mm.
What would have you trust the wisdom 1,000%, no matter what's going on in the chaos around you? How do you connect to that?
That's a big ask. 1,000%. Damn.
I wish you could see the grin on your face.
I like the idea. I really like the idea. I love
a big ask is part of it.
Yeah, right. That's maybe I can remember that ask. That's how I think that could help. I can remember this conversation and sitting here with you, a new situation, a new person, and I guess I'm going like this. So I can just really, I said it to something was in my heart. I said what was in my confidence was in my heart. Yeah, so feeling that.
What's a way to make it concrete in your environment all the time?
I don't know, I just saw a heart. I just saw a simple, square, red heart on making a painting or drawing a heart and just having it facing me and having it remind me, something like that. I want to remember this.
So will you make that in whatever artistic forms, sometime in the next 48 hours, so that it's in your space to remind you? You walk in confidence.
I like that phrase. I walk in confidence. I like that phrase. Thank you.
I want to know if there is anything that would be a back door for you. That when that doubt voice comes back up, the mouse, what brings you back to the heart in your square, in your chest, in your body, confidence?
For some reason, what came to my mind is I just thought I'm turning 60 in a few weeks, and it's time. Just reminding myself of my age, that I'm now like fully mature adult woman. It's like doesn't get like, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for?
You.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Welcome home.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Enough for now?
Yeah. It's great. Thank you very much.
Our shade up, ready?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Shade up.
You You are so, so welcome. Okay,
Hmm.
I know you want me on. Can you actually even see me? I'm so short.
I can totally see you. No, actually, you were perfect.
Ah, okay.
Ah, well, Janet.
Yes.
What really worked from your perspective?
Sure. Self-managing the parallel process that was going on.
I wondered about that.
For the rest of you, I turned 60. I'm publishing
Get out
a
of
book this
here.
fall.
Yeah.
You're being played. It's really scary. It's very scary. Seriously.
You might want to go back and listen to the recording. Mm.
And then in that self-managing, I was feeling a deep gratitude and joy and I don't know, like connection into some stream that is just so common for all of us.
Mm.
And really a privilege, Jan, to do that piece of work with you. Yeah, very wonderful.
And the empathy came through so clearly. Yeah. Yeah. You were so gentle and loving in your boldness. What is it called? The velvet slippers? Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, as far as what any opportunity your gut instinct tells you something that you would have wanted more of yourself in this. Anything come to mind?
Gosh, lots of places. I never felt fully satisfied with uncovering the paradox and the tension.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that was more of my agenda. So
Mm-hmm.
I was going back to who is this being in front of me, and how do we bring that more to the surface for her to keep remembering, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, that's me. And then I just couldn't help myself. I had to go to the value of integrity. It was killing me.
Well, and isn't that just being direct with, just trusting yourself in the moment? I think what was artful about it is I could feel that a hint of that dog after a bone for a bit. And then you would just relax into mirroring her and being with her. And it was so beautiful. It was a beautiful dance of self-management, and not just self-management, but of relatability and partnering and being human with her in the process. And that's where the empathy really came through for me. That trust and intimacy, that connection, that coaching presence where you are bold. And I watched you bring out her boldness. Yeah. Jan, I could see that mouse beginning to turn into a lion and roar through the process of this. And yeah, I think what I'm noticing, I was comparing in my mind, because there is no formula to MCC, right? There's no formula. Oh, and it's not a fire alarm. Well, that's interesting. What?
Right. What perceiving on that is all about.
Exactly. Oh, what did I just say? I said there's no formula, right? To MCC, there's this artfulness, this subtlety of, so everybody's asked potent questions today. I mean, there have been great opportunities of powerful questioning occurring. And what I noticed with you, Janet, is you stuck with it a little longer. So you took the questions, 2, 3, 4 questions, to just really excavate. Is this where it is? No, this is not where it is. You don't have an issue with this. And then you would do the same. So there was really, for me, an experience of a thorough excavation that had with it a solid practice of offering her opportunities to self-reflect. What is she noticing in the moment? What's she feeling? And I think for me, my curiosity was in the beginning, it almost felt as if that very thing that she said at the end, which is, oh golly, what was it? Taking the time, just taking the time to go inside. It's what it all culminated with, with the heart. I'm curious what would have happened in the early stages with silence. For You're So Good with somatic work and taking her to her body and just hanging out there a little longer to see what might have crept up to the surface that was fairly invisible.
Yeah, I'm with you. She was such a live wire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was needing that frenetic energy and trying to bring it down a little bit.
You did it. You grounded it. Yeah.
And even slowing it a little bit more.
Slightly. I mean, my sense of it was your questions, every one of them mattered, and all the reflections mattered. They came quickly enough that it was really, it kept it moving. Okay. It kept it moving. Yeah, good. And there was a moment in time, and Jan, you can correct me if I was wrong, at the very beginning where it felt a little, your voice, maybe it was the internet, but it sounded a little frail and wobbly, like there was a vulnerability and an emotion that was starting to bubble up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Me about that?
What was that?
I didn't know if you were wanting me to say more about that.
No, I was asking, I had an instinct that there were tears behind the words.
Yeah, there were a couple of times actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you spoke to it, Janet, and I think that's maybe the place I might have, oh, we've got company. Hi. To really ask what is it she's noticing and what's important about what it's showing up for in this moment, what you want to do with it. But boy, those are just alternative pathways.
I've gone into that space before. I asked her what value she's wanting to honor by stepping out in the world. And that may have given her a little more access to it. Although where she went when she went in.
Right.
Gosh.
This is where, you know what, in every demonstration today, the aha is found. There's no right way of getting there. There's all multiple paths of getting there. And what are the possibilities?
Yeah.
And something that you demonstrated at that MCC level of is showing up so fully human, so fully yourself in the sense of taking risks, being bold, trying it on, and then letting it go when and staying persistent with that gut feeling. Yeah. Anything else that, your humor and lightness. There was a humor and lightness that was sort of like a still pond that had sunlight dancing on the surface of it. It was like, it was both and so it wasn't stepping over the depths, and yet there was a lightness that made it safe. Yeah. And I was curious what vulnerability was showing up in you when the vulnerability was in the field.
Yeah, she was definitely impacting my heart. And I think some of the pacing for me really is the being vulnerable with you. Like I could feel the place that you are so connected to the struggle in the world. And it's part of what I was sensing compels you. And I was deeply curious about that. So I kept going in lots of different doorways to see what would emerge, and you just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
And you called her bluff on a couple of those things, and you were a champion to her. Yeah, let's hear from others.
Yeah. Open it up. My wheels.
Actually, Janet, let me ask you this. What piece resonated for you that has you chewing on it, if anything, from the feedback?
It may not be directly to the feedback, although it's one of the things that I've been noticing in my coaching, and I think a lot of it has to do with who my current suite of clients is that I'm engaged with a lot of people who are very fast thinkers. And it has my pacing matching them, which isn't always suitable, of course. And I was noticeably breathing to slow down with you to match your pace, which I instinctively know how to do, but I can feel where the habit is in with the clients they're working with, who require 4x4s.
Right.
Calling me forward with them because of the nature of the work we're doing together. And, when you have a diverse group of clients, there's more mobility. So I can feel the lazy edges because I've been this kind of narrow slice of people that I'm working with.
Yeah.
Well, one thing when you said that comment about your heart being really open and feeling is that it was 3/4 through, I literally had to fight back the tears. I was feeling so, I could have literally just laid on the floor and fallen into a pool of tears. It was right there, and I breathed my way through it to stay present for the demonstration. I know enough about myself as an empath that your message and what you were talking about right then is just so powerful. And so wherever you go with it, there's a lot there. And let me shift now to the coaching part. And I want to say that when I was in ACC, the first time I saw an MCC and we did one of these, I went, this doesn't seem fair because I'm not supposed to do that. So I just like to put that out there in case nobody wants to say it. What I love so about where you were with her is just not only next to her, but out in front of her and being that champion and challenger. And I could talk for an hour about all the questions and the way that you went and all of it, but I did love and will steal and use. What was the bridge you crossed to go back to disempowering language? I've had this experience with a client, what I don't quite know. My question isn't that artful, so I loved that. And where does confidence live in your body? I've asked questions like that, but I loved the way you moved that in there. And then actually at the very beginning, there was a theme set, and I wondered if it occurred to you because she started a sentence and then she cut herself off, and I can't remember how you phrased it. It wasn't "don't hijack yourself."
Yeah.
It was something like that. And then we had it several different times in the session, right? And you just kept reframing it and saying it in different ways.
Since you brought it up, in competency too, in the document that you all have, when you look at the MCC level, you'll see it speaks to fuller exploration. And I think it's one of the most difficult things to move from PCC to MCC is to drop the trappings of this is what a session structure looks like. This is the flow. These are the steps. This is the pacing, in favor of ensuring that the client is fully embodying something that's useful to them. Mm-hmm. Even if I spend an entire 30 minutes having the client get to something that's useful, we're still coaching. Right? You don't set an agreement and then coach. Everything in the exchange is coaching. And we were creating awareness, and there was all kinds of communicating effectively going on, building lots of trust and intimacy in the process, and we hadn't arrived at the core underlying issue. So it's important to keep staying there, because ultimately that's the value contribution. And a client can get to what's not known.
Unrelated, we may get one more interruption saying that we get to ignore those alarms. So we will have another interruption saying that we don't need to worry. And then energetically we only
I'm curious about just the distinction between the softness that shows up in PCC sometimes and the boldness that comes out right off the bat in some of the questions that you asked. And there's a fine line in calling Jan out on the disempowering language that she was using. And I can imagine a subtle shift in tone that could have just shut her the fuck down. Mm-hmm. Or just a subtle shift, like it worked really quite beautifully and you hung right in there. And so there's an art to the boldness of naming that and still allowing space for just noticing and still building everything together.
Yeah, that's insightful. So
how do you do that?
I used her name. So we'd already had the experience of her cutting herself off before we started, right? So as Sarah was pointing out, and so I was aware that there was a lot going on, like the monkey mind was in there. Mm-hmm. So that was my cue to say, damn, pause for a second. I heard an I want, and then I want, and then I have to. So it becomes direct communication. Yeah. Right? And an invitation to her. And she played it back to me, and that's when I asked the question, so what was the bridge to get from I want to I have to?
Yeah, there I could follow it really gorgeously. You pointed it out earlier. We had it all filmed. You pointed it out earlier in a way that sounded even more bold and more honest. You pointed out.
Take a breath.
Yeah.
But she was in that energy too. What was needed to match.
Yeah.
It's all hyped up. You can't say, honey. It won't interrupt now. So
And there was a creating the trust and intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
That we should love at the very beginning.
Yeah, the smile was behind the directness. There was a compassion was present. It was palpable, while the directness was really bold, you know.
Maybe to understand, like, how did it feel to you when it was named, that disempowering language?
relieving.
Relieving.
I felt seen.
Yeah.
I felt very empowering.
This is what I'm doing.
Paradoxically empowering to be seen. Oh, it's that obvious that I'm disempowering myself, and then it must be really the wrong thing to do. You know, as opposed to like having her confirm that I should disempower myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also to that other point about the take a breath, the strongness of that intervention, I feel like if it would have been softer, I would have felt patronized by it.
Yeah.
Like, be different than you are, you know. Yeah.
Like it gives you confidence. Like,
yeah, don't mess.
Take charge.
Yeah.
There's something that I was curious about. We were talking earlier about some emotion that was coming out in a place that felt like that.
Oops, sorry.
It's very good place. Very music. I love it. Said I had to write this book, and that I it felt a really emotional moment there, and I'm wondering why you didn't explore that more fully. Would that have taken things off path, or?
So, what I was sensing in the moment is she was tapping into her strength. And rather than put her into contrast with that, I followed the strength with her. And 3 more times, if I'm remembering correctly, I had to write this book. I have to connect with people. Right? I'm 60, it's time to do this. Right? There's something moving in her that she's convincing herself, maybe not hearing herself enough out loud. Just feeling the power of the coaching conversation. And perhaps if we'd gone down that path in a more overt way, she may have identified what has her be an imposter. We just got there from a different goal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stealing.
Please do.
The difference between inside out and outside in, and as a way to, well, I have trouble keeping people on track sometimes because maybe in the next sentence there's going to be something there, but listening for where's this coming from, I think will help me make that decision, whether to let it go or bring it back.
Good, really good. You know, in powerful questioning, it talks about deeper inquiry, mostly evocative, holding the emotional and the objective at the same time. And so I'm always allowing myself to be influenced by who the client is being with me. And when I start to feel something incongruent or inconsistent in some way, that's what I'm following when I'm asking the next question. I'm not attached. I'm just noticing in the experience if there's something here that doesn't quite line up in my experience of this person, and go see what's there. So we got the contrast of that inside out, outside in, and the way in which she was relating to it. And
I think, to me, it's a brilliant question to not shut somebody down, but really ask them to listen to themselves deeper. I just really like that question because it's not saying shut up. It's saying, where is this coming from? And then, oh my God, what might happen then?
I have a question about the had to. And when I heard you talk about the book, it felt like she was compelled had to. But when it was the podcasting and the social media, it was a should.
Still is.
So just noticing different, the same word, but a different undertone to it.
My sense is if Jan continues to work with the coach, she will start to deconstruct what are the impulses that stop her and start to then say, okay, so if I can hold the paradox here, what are the ways in which I can be out in the world that are complementary, and what are the ones that she shivers at and says, no, those are not mine. That's not my thing. Right? Other things are my thing. And we weren't quite at the place where she can accept that it's okay. I'm sorry to talk about you in the third person, so for me to say she's full of whatever. But my sense for you is that when you can own that, you will never be an imposter. And you will always be in the tension of, I am wise and have something to say, and I feel vulnerable and exposed. Right? Because that's actually what everybody lives. Yes, they live in struggle, but they're high functioning too.
Right.
And your message is one of hope. And as you own and stand and live in that, you're going to find your way to have your voice be out in the world.
Right.
So that would definitely come forward. So it's good instinct what you're pointing to.
You know, it just occurred to me, Janet, is Jan, you spoke about being out on the edge. Being out on the edge where change can occur, where that growth edge is. And there was something about that, Janet, that you were mirroring or modeling, taking Jan out on the edge in a couple different ways until she embodied that powerful voice at that.
Fun.
Yeah.
I'm sure I got totally hooked there. It's like, oh yeah, let's go to the edge.
David, I was just wondering what, there was a moment when you asked Jan a question about what boundary she was on. Is she in posture shift? Is she inward? She look down, close her eyes, and sort of not collapse, but just really shifted her posture. And I thought, wow, this is the moment of I could get really hooked with the coach, right? Like, oh, now what do I do? Or she went away, or how do I bring her back, or something. And I was wondering how you manage that, or what kind of advice you might have for those of us.
Oh, I was delighted.
Okay.
I was delighted. Whenever the client goes so deeply into themselves, I know we get the real truth.
Mm-hmm.
We're not getting the head answering my question. She's answering for herself. And the opportunity for me is just to keep opening my heart and flooding the field with hope and gratitude and possibility. Yeah, it's perfect.
And just feedback on that, as I was so relieved that that you weren't making that a problem. You know, make you anxious or something.
You could really feel that.
Yeah, I could totally feel the support to take the time that I needed to really find an answer that was real rather than just, I have actually a follow-up question on that, a technical question, just something I struggle with, and I was interesting to be on this side of it. When the client doesn't understand the question, do you take that as, do you repeat the question so they understand it, or do you let them hear whatever they heard? Or there were a couple of times where I felt like I couldn't answer the question, or I didn't understand the question. And I can't remember because I was in the middle of it, I can't really remember how that was handled. And it's also more of like a general question, like how you think about that.
I rarely ever repeat the question exactly the same because I have no idea what I've said.
Right.
And I'm sensing where your confusion might have happened. So it's a very intuitive somatic process. And I'm probably pulling, what was the word, the energy behind the words that you spoke that fused the question. So something you said to me is what brought my curiosity up, and I connect back to that. And I ask a slightly different question.
Right.
Or sometimes I'll say to a client, I see my question put you in your head. Right. Take a breath and see what you want to explore next. So complete detachment.
Moment where when you didn't understand it all, and it was after you were really energized about uncertainty and they were all fucked up. When the next question didn't land, you got really vulnerable and sweet, and you said, what are you really wanting out of this exchange? And so there was just a lot of tension and
Still in person all the way to the end of the
Yes, sir. We never finished competency 2.
Setting the coaching agreement. That's all the way to the end.
I don't think I understood that actually.
So,
in terms of the technical piece.
so,
Explain that, yeah.
well, we have a chart and I just have to use it.
Good, because I wrote it all right here.
Our mission is complete.
Yeah.
Church out.
Yeah.
So in our program, we teach a structure to help people with the establishing the coaching agreement.
Which is
Core competency 2. And if you want to flip to the core competency, that might be very useful for you to take a look at this.
You know, I'm going to just say goodbye to everybody. I'm popping off. It's been, thank you. Wonderful to be here. Thanks, everybody.
Have fun with the folks.
All right.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Some of us say Jen.